The chandelier flickers softly over a neatly set table. Crystal glasses glisten. Silver cutlery catches the light. The table looks like a memory pulled from the past. Polished, careful, loving. At the head of the table sits Shirley, 70. Frail but dignified, her eyes glowing with pride. She serves dessert, a vanilla pudding topped with a swirl of cream, trembling slightly in her aged hands. Across from her sits Robert, 35, restless, fiddling with his phone. Beside him, in a sleek red dress and designer heels, is Valerie, his wife. Her smile too sharp, too polished, a blade disguised as charm. Shirley places the dessert in front of them, her voice soft but eager. "I made it just the way you liked when you were little, Robert. Vanilla, extra smooth." Robert offers a distracted half smile, not looking up. Valerie lifts her spoon, stares at the pudding, then smirks. "You're not half the woman my mother is." The words slice through the room like shattered glass. A deadly silence follows. The ticking of the kitchen clock fills the void. Shirley freezes, spoon suspended midair. Her heart pounds, her throat tightens. She sets the spoon down slowly, her chair scraping against the floor as she pushes back. Shirley, voice trembling but sharp, "Then she can start paying your rent." Robert's head jerks up. His face drains of blood. "Rent? What rent?" Valerie's smirk falters. The air thickens. The tension coils like a spring about to snap. Shirley looks directly at her son, her eyes burning, her voice steady now. "The rent I've been paying every month. $900 for 6 months." Robert stares as if she's speaking a foreign language. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Valerie shifts uncomfortably, her face twisting between confusion and fear. "I sold your father's wedding ring. I skipped medicine for my arthritis. I ate rice and eggs for weeks so you could live under that roof." Her words hammer the room. Robert slumps back, pale and trembling. Valerie grips her spoon but doesn't move. Flashback. 6 months earlier. Interior, Shirley's living room. Day. Robert, eyes red from crying, sits hunched on Shirley's couch. His voice cracks. "Mom, please. I lost my job. We can't pay the rent. Just for a few months until I find something." Shirley, sewing kit on her lap, looks at him with tearful compassion. She takes his hands. "Of course, Robert. Don't you worry. I'll take care of it." Back to present. Dining room. Shirley glares at Valerie now, her voice calm but cutting. "You wanted me to hear the truth tonight, Valerie? Then here it is. For half a year, I've been your landlord. And while you sat here insulting me, it was my sacrifice that kept you fed, clothed, and comfortable." Valerie's smugness evaporates. She opens her mouth, stutters. "Shirley, I didn't know." Shirley cutting her off, icy. "Of course you didn't, because Robert let you believe he was still the provider." Robert lowers his head, shame written all over him. "I didn't want her to feel ashamed." "No, you didn't want yourself to look weak." The silence grows unbearable. Robert's hand trembles against his glass. "Mom, why didn't you tell me? Why lie about talking to the landlord?" "Because you came to me like a little boy, crying, begging, and I thought, that's what mothers do. They save their children." She steps closer, her voice quivering with pain. "I pawned my memories, Robert. Your father's ring. The only thing I had left of him. For you." Her hand slams against the table. The glasses rattle. Shirley's tears spill now, but they're not soft tears. They burn. And for what? To sit here tonight and be told I'm not half the woman another mother is? Valerie swallows hard, her red lipstick trembling. Robert never told me. Shirley, don't pretend. You've shown me what you think of me from the beginning. Every insult about my house, every sneer at my clothes, every time you looked around this home as if it were a prison. She points a shaking finger at her. You said your mother has a beach house, European trips, a company. Good for her. Maybe now she can pay for the roof over your head. The silence after her words feels like thunder before the storm. Robert grips his head, rocking slightly, his phone forgotten on the table. Oh, God. Oh, God. The crystal clock ticks louder. The pudding sits untouched. The perfect dinner, now ashes. Valerie tries to stand tall again, but her voice cracks. You can't just stop. You can't just abandon us. You're his mother. Shirley straightens her back, her tears drying into steel. A mother protects. A mother sacrifices. But a mother isn't a fool. She leans in close, her words a hiss. And I won't be your fool anymore. Robert looks up, and in his eyes is pure terror. Mom, please, don't do this. Shirley's hand trembles on the back of her chair, but her voice is unshakable now. Starting tomorrow, not one more dollar. Robert slams his fist against the table. Glasses shatter. Pudding spills across the cloth. No, you can't! Shirley doesn't flinch. She stares him down. I just did. The camera lingers on her face. Aged, lined, trembling, but resolute. A woman breaking chains she's carried too long. The broken glass still glitters across the tablecloth, pudding dripping down its edge like spilled blood. Shirley stands tall, her hand still pressed against the back of her chair, trembling yet firm. Robert collapses into a seat, pale, sweating. Valerie grips her napkin with white knuckles, her perfect red manicure digging into the fabric. The silence is suffocating. Robert, you've been paying all this time? Shirley's eyes bore into him. Every month, without fail, while you sat in restaurants, while Valerie strutted around in shoes worth more than my groceries, while I sold the last things your father left me. Robert shakes his head violently, as though trying to wake from a nightmare. You shouldn't have done that. I never asked for... Don't you dare. You begged me, sobbed in my living room like a child, and I gave, because that's what I've always done. Valerie slams her napkin onto the table, voice rising. This is insane! Robert, tell her she's wrong. You said the landlord gave us time. You said... Robert, I lied. Valerie's jaw drops. Her carefully painted face stiffens. What? I told Mom the truth, but I couldn't tell you. I wanted you to believe I had it under control, that I wasn't useless. Valerie shoots up from her chair, her voice shrill. You let me humiliate her tonight while she was paying our damn rent? Are you out of your mind? Robert presses his face into his hands, shoulders shaking. Shirley quietly, but deadly. Both of you played your parts well. You, Valerie, with your cruelty, and you, Robert, with your cowardice. Valerie furious. Don't call me cruel. How could I know? He lied to me too. Shirley steps forward, her gaze piercing. You didn't need to know about the rent to know how you treated me. Every word tonight, every sneer at my home, every jab at my life, that was yours alone. Valerie recoils as if slapped. Flashback into Shirley's dining room earlier that night. Valerie swirling her wine, mocking tone. Don't you think it's time you freshen this place up a bit, Shirley? My mother's house is so much more modern, minimalist, sophisticated. Shirley forces a smile, hiding her pain. Back to present. Shirley's face hardens. You wanted to wound me, Valerie, and you succeeded. Valerie sits back down, her voice shaking with fury. This is ridiculous. Families help each other. That's what mothers do. You can't just decide to stop. Shirley leans across the table, her face inches from Valerie's. Being a mother doesn't mean being an endless bank account. It doesn't mean standing silent while your own son and his wife tear you down in your own home. Robert lifts his head, eyes wet. Mom, please. I lost my job 2 weeks ago. I was going to tell you tonight. The words hang in the air like a guillotine. Shirley stiffens. Her voice drops to a whisper, raw with disbelief. 2 weeks ago? Robert nods, tears streaming. You sat here tonight, letting your wife compare me to her mother, letting her strip me of dignity while you were still living on my sacrifice? I was afraid. I thought I could fix it before you found out. Valerie explodes, voice trembling with rage. You what? You've been unemployed for 2 weeks and I've been spending... Oh my God, the shoes, the spa. Robert, you let me... She grabs at her head, mascara streaking down her cheeks. We're broke. We're completely broke. Robert reaches toward her, but she jerks away, eyes blazing. You pathetic liar. You ruined us. Shirley voice trembling with fury. Pathetic? He didn't ruin you, Valerie. You ruined yourselves. I gave everything I had left, and it was never enough. The room grows darker. The clock ticks louder. The walls seem to close in. Robert slams his palm against the table. Mom, don't leave us like this. We'll lose the apartment. We'll have nothing. Shirley's gaze softens for a flicker of a second, then hardens again. Then maybe it's time you learned what nothing feels like. Robert's body shakes as sobs erupt from him, his hands trembling violently. Valerie, lips quivering, spits out one last desperate attempt. If you walk away now, Shirley, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll die alone in this dusty old house. No family, no love, just your ghosts. The words hang in the air, poisonous. Shirley freezes. For a moment, the terror of loneliness flashes across her eyes. But then, something changes. Her shoulders straighten. A calm, almost eerie smile spreads across her face. Better alone than surrounded by vipers. The room falls silent. Even the clock seems to stop ticking. Valerie's face twists in disbelief. Robert looks like the ground beneath him has collapsed. Shirley turns toward the window, her back to them, the streetlight outlining her silhouette. Starting tomorrow, I take my life back. The screen lingers on Robert's face, pale, devastated, and Valerie's, frozen in fury and panic. The house is quiet, too quiet. A mug of untouched tea cools on the counter. Shirley sits at the table, staring at the ring-shaped mark on the wood where her late husband's coffee cup once rested every morning. Her hands are raw from years of sewing, trembling slightly as she holds a letter. She doesn't open it. Not yet. The phone rings. The sound slices through the silence. She picks it up. Hello? A warm, deep male voice fills the line. Shirley? It's Michael Jenkins. Shirley freezes. Her breath catches. Flashback into college cafeteria 50 years earlier. A young Shirley, 20, radiant in a white dress with red flowers, laughs as a young Michael, 22, sketches her face on the corner of his notebook. If you ever leave this town, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. Shirley giggles, her eyes full of unspoken dreams. Back to present, kitchen. Her voice trembles. Michael, I didn't think... Michael Vio. I tracked you down old-fashioned way, social media. Took me 2 weeks to be sure it was you. When I saw your photo, Shirley, it was like no time had passed. Tears sting her eyes. It's been 40 years. Michael Vio. 40 years too long. Shirley presses the phone closer to her ear, her lips trembling. Why now? Michael Vio. Because my wife passed away. Because my kids are grown. Because for 40 years I've looked at your picture in that white dress and wondered if you ever got the life you deserved. Shirley covers her mouth, a sob escaping. Michael Vio. Tell me the truth, Shirley. Are you happy? The question pierces her, like Valerie's insult had days before. She looks around her empty kitchen, the peeling wallpaper, the broken shoes by the door, the unpaid bills on the counter. Her whisper is barely audible. No. The silence on the other end is long, heavy. Then Michael's voice, warm but firm. Michael Vio. Then let me change that. Come to Seattle. Let me show you the Pacific. Let me remind you who you are. Shirley grips the phone with both hands, her breath unsteady. Seattle? Michael, I can't just... Michael Vio. Why not? You've spent your whole life giving. Isn't it time someone gave to you? The house is quiet. Too quiet. A mug of untouched tea cools on the counter. Shirley sits at the table, staring at the ring-shaped mark on the wood where her late husband's coffee cup once rested every morning. Her hands are raw from years of sewing, trembling slightly as she holds a letter. She doesn't open it. Not yet. The phone rings. The sound slices through the silence. She picks it up. Hello? A warm, deep male voice fills the line. Shirley? It's Michael Jenkins. Shirley freezes. Her breath catches. Flashback. Interior college cafeteria 50 years earlier. A young Shirley, 20, radiant in a white dress with red flowers, laughs as a young Michael, 22, sketches her face on the corner of his notebook. Michael, young, teasing, if you ever leave this town, I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. Shirley giggles, her eyes full of unspoken dreams. Back to present. Kitchen. Her voice trembles. Michael? I didn't think... Michael Vio. I tracked you down. Old-fashioned way. Social media. Took me 2 weeks to be sure it was you. When I saw your photo, Shirley, it was like no time had passed. Tears sting her eyes. It's been 40 years. Michael Vio. 40 years too long. Shirley presses the phone closer to her ear, her lips trembling. Why now? Michael Vio. Because my wife passed away. Because my kids are grown. Because for 40 years I've looked at your picture in that white dress and wondered if you ever got the life you deserved. Shirley covers her mouth, a sob escaping. Michael Vio. Tell me the truth, Shirley. Are you happy? The question pierces her like Valerie's insult had days before. She looks around her empty kitchen, the peeling wallpaper, the broken shoes by the door, the unpaid bills on the counter. Her whisper is barely audible. No. The silence on the other end is long, heavy. Then Michael's voice, warm but firm. Michael Vio. Then let me change that. Come to Seattle. Let me show you the Pacific. Let me remind you who you are. Shirley grips the phone with both hands, her breath unsteady. Seattle? Michael, I can't just... Michael Vio. Why not? You spent your whole life giving. Isn't it time someone gave to you? Shirley's tears stream down her cheeks. She can't answer. Interior Shirley's living room that evening. Robert stands in the doorway, unshaven, his shirt wrinkled, eyes red. He looks smaller than Shirley remembers, fragile. Mom, please, don't cut me off. We'll lose everything. Shirley doesn't move from her armchair, her face calm but firm. Robert, I've already lost everything that mattered. My husband, my health, my pride. What's left to lose? Robert kneels in front of her, tears falling freely. I'm trying, Mom. I'll get a job. I'll fix it. Just don't give up on me. Shirley studies him for a long, painful moment. She sees the little boy who once clung to her skirts when thunder shook the house. But that boy is gone. This isn't about giving up on you. It's about finally choosing me. Robert's face crumbles. What does that mean? Shirley takes a deep breath. It means I'm going to Seattle. Robert's head jerks up, stunned. Seattle? What the hell is in Seattle? Shirley holds his gaze, her eyes glistening but resolute. Seattle. What the hell is in Seattle? Shirley holds his gaze, her eyes glistening but resolute. Michael Jenkins.
Robert staggers back as if conched, whispering, Michael? From the old photos? Your boyfriend? Shirley nods slowly. He found me, after 40 years. He wants me to visit. Robert stares at her, speechless, then laughs bitterly through tears. You're serious. Mom, he could be a scammer. He could hurt you. Shirley, steady, unshaken. Or he could be the first person in decades to see me as more than a bank or a burden. Robert's lips quiver. He grips her arm, desperate. Don't do this because of what happened at dinner. Don't run away just to spite us. Shirley pulls her arm free, her voice sharp. I'm not running away, Robert. I'm walking toward something. Toward me. Robert sinks into the couch, broken. Whispering, what about me? Shirley's eyes soften, but her resolution doesn't waver. For once, Robert, it's not about you. Interior, Shirley's bedroom, night. The room is dim, lit only by the glow of a lamp. On the bed lies an open suitcase. Dresses, carefully folded, rest inside. Shirley holds her coral pink dress against her chest, gazing at herself in the mirror. For the first time in years, she sees not just a mother, not just a widow, but a woman. Her phone buzzes. A message from Michael. Counting the days. Yellow roses will be waiting at the airport. M. Shirley smiles through her tears. She whispers to her reflection. It's not too late. The suitcase snaps shut with finality. Interior, Shirley's house, night. Through the window, Robert watches his mother packing. His face is a storm of grief, fear, and something unfamiliar. Respect. He calls his phone. He ignores it. For the first time, Robert realizes his mother is slipping beyond his control. He whispers to the night air, broken but odd, she's really going to do it. The camera lingers on Shirley's face as she closes the suitcase, her hand resting firmly on the handle. Shirley stands at the boarding gate, clutching a small coral pink suitcase. The PA system drones overhead. Travelers blur past in streaks of color. Her fingers find the soft fray on her sleeve, a seamstress reading her own life by the threads. She takes out a folded letter, Robert's letter, and presses it to her heart. Then she tucks it back, lifts her chin, and walks toward the future. Cut to interior, airplane, day. Shirley stares out the window. Clouds roll beneath like fields of milk. She traces a circle in the condensation with a fingertip, a habit from childhood. A flight attendant leans in. Can I get you anything, ma'am? Shirley's soft smile. A glass of water and a little courage. The attendant smiles. Shirley smiles back, surprised at the sound of her own joke. She sips water. Her phone lights up. Valerie. 14 missed calls. She flips it face down, breath steady. Cut to Interior, Seattle-Tacoma Airport. Arrivals, afternoon. The automatic doors slide open. A crowd waits with signs and balloons, and there, Michael, 72, tall, silver-haired, eyes bright with a boy's astonishment. He holds a bouquet of yellow roses like a promise he's been polishing for 40 years. They lock eyes. The years drop away like a shed skin. Michael, quiet, almost reverent. Shirley. She steps into his arms. The hug is careful at first, then fierce. The roses press into her shoulder. The thorns don't matter. Shirley, you kept your word. Michael, I've been keeping it since I was 22. He offers his arm. She takes it. They walk. Cut 2. Exterior, Michael's house. Evening. A cedar-paneled home perched on a hill. The sound of the sound. Gulls, a distant ferry horn. The Pacific air tastes like salt and second chances. He opens the door for her. Inside, warm wood, shelves of books, framed photos of grown children, and a dark-haired woman smiling in memorial. Shirley. She was beautiful. Michael. Nods. Gentle. She was. I loved her well. I miss her. Then. And I never forgot you. They stand in that tender, complicated truth. It doesn't scare her. It steadies her. Michael. Come. I made dinner. Cut 2. Interior, Michael's kitchen, night. Steam rises from a pot. Michael chops herbs with the clumsy care of a man who learned late. Shirley watches his hands. Engineer hands. Practical, precise.
It's nothing fancy. Salmon, roasted potatoes, a salad, grinning, and no judgment if the potatoes go to war with the timer.
Shirley brought her own ceasefire. She ties on an apron, takes the knife, and moves with the rhythm of a woman who's fed armies out of small kitchens. The blade's tuck, tuck, tuck becomes a heartbeat. He watches, something like awe on his face.
Tell me everything. Tell me who you became.
Shirley breathes. For once, she answers without apology.
I became a seamstress, the way rivers become canyons, slowly carving a life out of what was in front of me. I made dresses for girls who weren't my daughter, suits for grooms who weren't my husband, and with each hem, I paid the bill that kept us breathing. Beat. I forgot what I wanted along the way, until last week.
Michael sets the knife down. The air hums with the truth that won't fit back in its box.
Then here's to remembering.
He raises a wooden spoon in a mock toast. She laughs, a real laugh, surprised and bright. Exterior, deck, night. They eat by fading light. Beyond the railing, the bay is a sheet of blue steel turning to velvet. He pours her a splash of wine. She lifts it, hesitates. To the boy who promised he'd follow me to the ends of the earth.
To the girl who made her own dress and looked like a revolution.
They clink. Silence settles. The good kind. The kind that says, you're safe here. Shirley closes her eyes and listens to the water. For the first time in years, the quiet doesn't sound like abandonment. It sounds like room. Interior, guest room, late night. She opens her suitcase. On top, the coral pink dress. Beneath it, a spiral notebook with a fabric cover she stitched herself. She writes a title on the first page. Seams. Her phone buzzes on the nightstand. Robert. She answers. Hi, sweetheart. His voice is small, childlike.
Did you land safe?
I did. A long breath on the other end. Then,
Mom, I got a night job. Cleaning company. It's not much, but I started 11. I wanted you to know before you sleep.
Shirley sits on the bed. Pride, grief, relief, it all tangles.
I'm proud of you. His voice thickens. I'll call after my shift. You don't have to pick up. I just... I want you to hear me trying.
I hear you now. They hang up. She stares at the ceiling. The house sighs around her, old wood settling. Then, from down the hall, Michael's low whistle, a song she half remembers. She smiles into the dark.
Shirley smooths her coral pink dress in the mirror. Her heart hammers. Today she will meet Michael's children. She whispers to her reflection, "Don't shrink. Don't apologize." A knock. Michael pokes his head in, holding a tie that refuses to behave. "I can design bridges across rivers, but I can't knot this to save my life." Shirley chuckles, takes the tie, her fingers moving with ease. The intimacy of the gesture makes her throat tighten. "Michael, they'll like you. That's not the question." "Then what is?" "Will they respect me?" He places his hand over hers, stilling her. "If they don't, they'll learn." Interior Michael's dining room, later. The table is alive with food. Roasted chicken, glazed carrots, crusty bread. The smell of rosemary fills the air. 3 adult children sit across from Shirley. David, 40s, neat and stiff. Carmen, 38, warm eyes but cautious. Theo, 34, restless, tapping his fork. Michael pours wine. Shirley folds her napkin in her lap, forcing her hands to stay still. David, to Michael, "So, you invited Mom's old college friend?" His tone is polite but edged. Shirley smiles gently. "Friend, yes, but more than that once." The table stiffens. Carmen studies her. Theo smirks. "So, this is a reunion or a midlife reboot?" Michael clears his throat, but Shirley leans forward before he can. "It's not a reboot, it's a continuation, one that was interrupted by fear and time." Carmen tilts her head, intrigued. "And now?" "Now I've stopped being afraid." A silence. Then David sets down his fork. "David, with respect, Shirley, my father just lost our mother 2 years ago, and suddenly you appear? It feels fast." Shirley meets his gaze head-on. "You're right, it is fast, but grief doesn't run on a clock, and joy doesn't wait politely at the door." Carmen's lips curve slightly, as if impressed. Theo leans back, arms crossed. "And what do you want? His house? His money? His company?" Michael slams his hand lightly on the table, angry. "Michael!" Shirley, quietly but firm. "No. Let him ask." She breathes deeply, steadying herself. "I don't want his money. I've spent my life giving away my own. I don't want his company. I already built mine with needles and fabric. What I want is simple." She looks at Michael. His eyes soften. "I want someone to look at me and see more than sacrifice." The room hushes. Theo looks away, uncomfortable. Carmen leans in. "What did you sacrifice?" Shirley's voice trembles, then steadies. "Jewelry, medicine, food, my health, my dreams. All so my son and his wife could live above their means while telling me I was less than their idea of a woman." The siblings exchange glances, some pity, some unease. David, softening. "And why Seattle?" Shirley, "Because Michael called and reminded me I'm still alive." Michael covers her hand on the table. The gesture is quiet, but undeniable. "I saw it in their eyes. Doubt, suspicion." Michael sits beside her, shoulders touching. They'll adjust. They just don't want me hurt. Shirley whispers, "What if I'm the hurt? What if they're right?" Michael turns her face gently to his. "Then we walk through it together." Her chest tightens. She hasn't heard those words in decades. Interior Community Center night. Shirley sits with her writing circle. She reads a piece aloud. Her voice cracks. Some doors don't open with keys. They open with grief, with courage, with the refusal to stay silent one more night. The circle is still. Carmen, yes, Michael's daughter Carmen, sits quietly in the back, having slipped in unnoticed. When Shirley finishes, Carmen approaches. That was brave. Shirley startles, then smiles faintly. "I came to see who you really are. Dad spoke about your writing. I didn't believe him, but now I do." She pauses, eyes wet. "If you give him joy again, I'll be grateful." Shirley exhales, shakily, nods. Exterior, shoreline, morning. The Pacific crashes against rocks. Shirley walks with Michael, shoes in hand, letting the surf wash over her feet. She laughs suddenly, the sound wild, unpracticed. Michael watches, almost reverent. "You sound like a woman who remembers herself." Shirley bends, picks up a smooth stone, presses it into his palm. "Keep this. A seamstress's vow. I'm not unraveling this time." He kisses the top of her head. "Then neither am I." Interior Shirley's guest room night. She sits on the bed, Robert's letter in hand. She opens it at last. Robert voiceover. "Mom, thank you for finally loving me enough to let me grow up. Fly high, literally and figuratively. Michael is lucky." Her tears fall onto the page, blurring the ink. She clutches the letter to her chest, torn between two lives, her son's fragile rebirth and her own awakening. She whispers to the dark, "I can't carry you anymore, Robert, but I can love you from here." Outside, the Pacific crashes on, endless, eternal.
Strings bloom like dawn breaking underwater. The orchestra lifts a slow, aching melody that slides beneath the ribs and settles there. In the dim light, Shirley sits beside Michael, his hand resting palm up on the armrest, an invitation without pressure. She places her fingers on his, not laced, not clutched, simply touching. The music swells. On her lap, a folded program, Adagio for a Changing Sea. Michael leans close, breath warm at her ear. "Stay." The word is quiet, more prayer than demand. She doesn't answer. She lets the violas answer for her, long and low and honest.
I promise to keep choosing. You, myself, the life we make, even on days that remember the weight of old patterns. I promise not to disappear into anyone's need, including yours, and to love you where the seam is visible. They trade simple bands, hammered silver, no stones. The dog barks at the applause. Waves tuck themselves against the shore like a blanket being pulled to a chin. Robert steps forward, eyes bright as winter sun. He hugs his mother long, wordless. Then he shakes Michael's hand with the seriousness of a vow. "Robert, thank you for seeing her." "Michael, thank you for letting her be seen." Carmen slips a small box into Shirley's palm. Inside, a thimble, old and gold, polished thin by use. "Carmen, it was my mother's. She mended everything with it. Seemed right you should have it."
Shirley's breath catches. Grief and grace braid in her chest. Shirley, thank you for your mother. Carmen nods, eyes wet. The tide edges closer, blessing everything with a cold kiss. Interior, Michael's living room, night. Lanterns glow. Neighbors clink glasses. Someone plays a battered guitar. Shirley stands at the window, watching the curve of the bay. In her hand, a pen. On the coffee table, her notebook. Seams. Robert joins her, 2 mugs of tea in hand. Robert. No wine tonight. I'm in training to like bitter things that do me good. She grins, takes the mug. Robert. I've been thinking how many times I said, I love you, but meant, save me. I didn't know the difference. I'm learning. Shirley. So am I. They watch the water. This time, the silence is not empty. It's full of a scent. Robert. Read me something. She opens seams, finds a fresh page, clears her throat. Shirley. Today I learned that seams aren't shame. They're architecture. They bear the pull so the cloth can dare to move. She closes the book, embarrassed by how naked the words feel out loud. Robert stands very still. Robert. You wrote that? Shirley. I did. Robert. Then I'll learn to live like that. He presses his forehead lightly to hers, a benediction in the language they share. Exterior, ferry deck, morning. Cold air. Gulls stitch the sky. The city slides away as the ferry noses across the sound. Shirley stands at the rail in a wool coat, river stone warm against her skin. Robert brings 2 paper cups of coffee, stands beside her without interrupting the view. Robert. Where to first? Bainbridge? A bookstore that smells like cedar, or we play hooky and find a diner that burns the pancakes just how we like them? Shirley. All of it, slowly. She takes a sip, grimaces. Shirley. Bitter. Good for me. He laughs. The wind steals the sound and tucks it into the gulls. What will you call your book? She watches the ferry wake unspool behind them like a seam being pressed open. Shirley. Seams, of course. And maybe a subtitle. Where things come together. She pulls a pen from her pocket, writes the words on the back of a receipt, pins it under her thumb so the wind can't edit her life again. Robert. Read me the first line. She thinks, then speaks. Shirley. I was told once that I wasn't half the woman someone else's mother was. I believed it, until I met the ocean and learned I was the whole horizon. Michael exhales like someone who just heard the right answer. Michael. Keep going. She does. About rings and stones, about boys who become men when no one is watching, about women who begin again at 70 with a passport and a pen. The ferry horn moans,
The shoreline approaches, ever new, ever known. Interior, small bookstore afternoon, months later. A chalkboard sign, local author reading, Shirley Jenkins. A dozen chairs, every one filled. Michael's kids, neighbors, writing circle friends, 3 curious tourists who came in for postcards and stayed for fate. Shirley stands at the podium. The river stone gleams against a simple black dress. She is not shaking. Shirley, thank you for coming. I wrote a book about staying stitched to yourself when the world keeps pulling. It's called Seams. She opens to chapter 1. Reads. Shirley, when you choose late, people call it brave, like a compliment and a warning. Choose anyway. Faces tip toward her like flowers toward sun. In the back row, Robert sits between David and Theo, whispering something that makes them both snort and then pretend they didn't. Carmen wipes her eye with a sleeve. Michael watches with the awe of a man witnessing an eclipse he'd waited a lifetime to see. Shirley closes the book. Applause swells. Not wild, but steady. The kind that holds. She steps down. Michael lifts her hand and kisses her knuckles. The gesture is old-fashioned and utterly right. Michael, you did it. Shirley, no. I'm doing it. They leave the shop into a drizzle that feels like blessing. The city smells of coffee and wet cedar. The sound breathes its slow, tidal yes. Shirley turns her face into the rain and laughs. Unafraid of the water, unafraid of the world, unafraid of being entirely, visibly herself. Fade out. The end.